Welcome to Bixby.
All right, here we go. It's Catfish on Ice. This is episode 86 with Chad Mitten and Rich Howe coming in for another episode of the Catfish on Ice podcast as we go into this Monday and we try to turn around those Monday blues. That is our mission every week when we do our Monday episode. Rich, are you feeling the Monday blues? Or are you feeling pretty good tonight?
No, I'm good. I'm totally good. How about you? Are you doing all right today?
Well,
you got the blues?
Rich, I got to be honest. For the last 10 days, I've had the common cold, the sniffles, that not so fun stuff. It wasn't COVID, thankfully. Got tested twice. It was not COVID, but it still was not fun. And I powered through. I did the last couple episodes, but I was not feeling 100% fully at strength. But tonight, I got news for everybody. I'm back to 100%. I'm feeling good.
Not sick.
Yes.
That's awesome.
We are ready. We're ready to go tonight as the Preds got a big win on Saturday against the Canadiens. I don't know if I'd call it a big win. I call it a necessary win. We're going to react to that win in the opening face-off tonight of episode 86. Should we be impressed by that win? Or, I'm sorry, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, I need more. I need more from this team than figuring out a way to beat the Canadiens, who Canadiens are the only team I can think of that might be worse than the Canadiens in the NHL is the Coyotes. So I need more from the Preds. We're going to talk about it because it is still a win.
Yep.
And there were some good things that happened in that game. Rich, how are you feeling, though, about the Preds right now? Because we put a Twitter question out right before we went live tonight for episode 86. And it's, what is the biggest storyline so far of the Preds season? Open range. It can be anything. And we've gotten a lot of good responses on Twitter. We will share some of them.
Yep.
But, Rich, how about you answer that question first? What is the biggest storyline for you so far this season for the Preds?
So far, I would say Forsberg. Is he going to be here? Is he not going to be here? He's playing amazing right now. He's definitely, you can tell he's in his contract year. I hate to say that, but he's really playing really well. And every game he has that's good, I think you tweeted it out, David Poyle is probably sweating bullets because he knows that the money is going to have to be raised every time he scores a goal, every time he has a game-winning goal in OT like he did against the Canadiens. One day I'm on the fence about it. I'm like, why would he want to go anywhere else? He's always been here. They're building things in Nashville. They're working towards a goal. Finally, they're not just trotting the same team out like they have for the past 3 seasons. But then the next day, I'm like, why would he want to stay here? They couldn't get a goal against Boston. Every goaltender it seems like they face has their most awesome game ever, and it just gets old after a while. So still on the fence about it. I don't know. It's kind of crazy.
It's a really tough position to be in right now for David Poyle. So what you're alluding to as far as the quote that I tweeted out from David Poyle from 2014. And this was in the direct aftermath of David Leguan being traded to the Detroit Red Wings. And I remember, I know, Rich, you weren't following the Preds at all at that time, but I remember it clear as day. It was a very 50-50 split opinion on trading away David Leguan at that time. I will not compare David Leguan at that point in his career to Phillip Forsberg now. And when it comes to that, it's apples to oranges. David Leguan was getting towards the end of his career. But for comparison's sake, it's more about getting the most out of your assets so that you don't lose out on an unrestricted free agent.
Yep,
and
absolutely.
So this is the quote. This is from ESPN. This is the article. This is from 2014. And I stumbled across this quote today. And it really possibly gave me a crystal ball into maybe what David Poile is thinking right now if he still has that same thought process. So this is what David Poile said about the whole reaction to trading David Leguan, who was the original Nashville Predator draft pick.
Yep.
He was a beloved player. He still owns all the major franchise records that we're going to talk about later in this episode, because a lot of those records are about to fall. We'll talk about that later in this episode. Yep. But here's the quote from David Poile during that time in 2014. Quote, I certainly didn't like the fact, going back a few years, the Ryan Suter situation when we didn't get anything for an unrestricted free agent. We need to try to manage our assets. And so the question I naturally ask is David Poile thinking the same thing about Phillip Forsberg right now? And that's a very fair thought to have right now.
Yeah, it seems like it's like a carbon copy of the same situation. Like, you can't, I mean, it's hard to judge. I mean, we don't have any inside track, obviously, but like, it's hard to judge what Forsberg has going on in his mind and what Poile has going on in his mind. I mean, like, you cannot absolutely, under no circumstances, can let him walk away with nothing in return. Like, if he decides he wants to go, it needs to be hammered out, and we'll figure out a trade and get something back for him. But he absolutely cannot just walk. If he walks, this fan base will be on fire. I mean, it'll be unbearable. Well, I mean, it'll just be like a travesty. So
what worries me is that you're going to get to the offseason, and let's say the Preds hold on to him past the trade deadline because they're playing well, they're hanging around a playoff spot like they're doing right now, and then you get to the first round of the playoffs like you did last season, and then you just get knocked out again. And then you lose Forsberg for nothing. Is that first round playoff appearance going to be worth it? Hell no. No.
We've had plenty of those.
Exactly. So that's why David Poile is in this hard situation. So when I ask the question, what's the biggest storyline, I totally agree with that as being an answer. And Rich, you had some people who totally agree with you on that. I'm going to share some of the comments right now. Lindsay, who always gets in on the episodes with us, she said, other than Forsberg, how strong of a bounce back season Duchesne is having, and also Yossi Norris caliber season. Yes, Lindsay, those are two other additional storylines that are those are arguably the other two that you can say are as big. And so very good comment there from Lindsay. Boyd, who's our good friend, Boyd, who's part of Penalty Box Radio and is a really good Preds follow, shares so many good insight things and comments on the Preds. Said the biggest storyline is Duchesne's resurgence. A close second is Forsberg's future. And third for Boyd would be Johansson's return to form.
That's true. That's a good point. Absolutely. That's a good point.
Yeah. Zach, who is another regular contributor and participant in the podcast. By the way, big shout out to Zach, who just got married.
Yep.
Zach, we are so happy for you.
It was the night of the game, the Canadiens game, or the day of the Canadiens game. He said he got married at 2:00 and then watched the Preds win at 10. So that's awesome. That's very cool.
Big congrats to Zach on getting married and also seeing the Preds win on the same day. That's a really good day, if you ask me.
Yeah.
So happy for Zach. Zach said the biggest storyline for him is how important it is to re-sign Forsberg. And then Barry V, who also is very active on Preds Twitter, gets in on the conversation and says it has to be the play of Duchesne and Johansson. So we're a little all over the board here. But most people think that it's Forsberg. Max Greenberg also says easily the Forsberg, Granlund, Duchesne line. I don't remember ever seeing us have a line that good, Jofa line included.
He's got a point. He's got a point.
Good point.
They
there.
Look really good.
A really good question there that brought some good responses. What is the biggest storyline of the season so far? If you're watching live right now, don't be shy. Comment in the stream and let us know. We'll share it.
Absolutely.
Let's let you know what else we got in store. So we're about to react to the the win over the Montreal Canadiens. Should we be impressed by that win? We're about to preview the week ahead that the Preds got. I feel like this is a chance this week ahead to kind of string together some wins, dare I say. I feel like this entire week it's on the road. They got road games. But I feel like they got a 4-game road trip working right now. But I feel like this 4-game road trip, they should be able to have some success here if they want to be taken seriously. They need to have some success, some serious success in these next 4 games. So we're going to preview the week ahead. We're also going to discuss some Preds records that are getting ready to fall. Some long-time Preds franchise records.
David Leguan.
A lot of them owned by David Leguan, who has held those records for a long time. And we just talked about Phillip Forsberg. He's the one that's hunting down a lot of those records. So we're going to focus on that, talk about that. We got Kyle Perkins joining us for Monday's edition of Perk's Picks. He will join us here in a few minutes to give us his edition of Perk's Picks. We have no idea what his picks are this week. It's always a total surprise. It's always a total surprise.
Yeah, so I haven't talked to him today, so I'm not sure. Yeah.
I'm sure he's got something good for us. And then we got some NHL Quick Hitters. NHL Quick Hitters to round out episode 86. We are presented by DraftKings. We are part of the Hockey Podcast Network. So, opening face-off. Should we be impressed by the Preds beating the Montreal Canadiens? That game was not an easy win by any means.
Nope.
The Preds won 4-3. The Preds were trailing in that game, and it was not looking pretty for a good portion of that game. They figured out a way to win in overtime. Congratulations. I'm happy for you. But Preds, you don't earn a cookie for me. You don't earn a gold star. You don't earn any kind of bonus points at all. I was not impressed at all by that performance. Yes, Phillip Forsberg got the game-winning overtime goal. Yes, they did show some fight. They didn't give up. But you're going against the Canadiens. They are so irrelevant and not a good team. So I'm not impressed at all.
Yeah. No
Am I being too harsh?
No.
Am I being too harsh, Rich?
You're absolutely not being too harsh. No gold star for me either. I was actually talking to my wife after the game. Well, my whole family, we all watched it or whatever. And I was just like, it never should have gone to overtime. And they're like, but it was a win. It was a win. And I'm like, doesn't matter. Canadiens had, up until the other night, 6 games. That is all they've won all season. 6 games.
And one of those 6 wins is a beatdown of the Predators.
A huge beatdown by the Predators. And I think I'm becoming a jaded fan. I expect so much out of them because you see what they did with the shutout the other night, and you just expect that. And then 2 nights later, Boston's in town, big game, and they can't even get a goal. And it's so up and down, and they're so inconsistent.
I will tell you, Rich.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to agree with me here because you were at the game.
Yep.
And you know the Boston Bruins very well as well.
Yep.
I feel like the Preds actually played a better game in a loss to the Bruins than they did in a win against the Canadiens.
I would agree with that. I do agree with that. And Swayman had a really good game. He got the shutout. That's good. It was tough because he actually faced a season high 42 shots by the Predators. So, well, up to that point, the Canadiens game, they had 44, I believe. But he played a really good game. But I was just like, I really enjoyed going to the game and it was a lot of fun, but I was just sitting there the whole night and I was like so disappointed. I was like, one goal. I just want to see one goal. And I didn't even get that. And I was like bummed out about it a little bit. And then I'm just getting to where I just expect them. I want some consistency. That's all I want.
Yes. Well, they ran into a really hot goaltender. Swayman definitely played an outstanding game. I'm more impressed by the Preds in the loss to the Bruins than I am in the win against the Canadiens. Easily.
Yeah.
You don't even have to ask me twice about it. But what worries me more is that the Predators you can't trust them. And you wrote a good article about it on Pred Lines about saying, is this their true colors? And I'm right there with you. This is why they're not a viable playoff team, even if they make it. Now, of course, we have a lot of games left this season. So they can completely change this narrative, and maybe we'll feel more confident about them. We got Zach getting in on YouTube here. Zach, who just got married. Congratulations again to Zach. He says, it's like they take one step forward, two steps back. I agree with the Canadiens game. It's like they had multiple opportunities against the Bruins and couldn't close it out.
Yep.
Yes, Zach. We appreciate you joining in on YouTube with us. And I totally agree with you, Zach. It says Zach says they should beat this year's Montreal team 9 out of 10 times, in my opinion. Yep. Well, Zach, you would like to think that, but over the last 2 games, it looks more and more like if the Preds and Canadiens played in a 7-game series, it would go to 7 games.
I mean, it's amazing.
And that's the criticism I have right now for the Predators is it shouldn't be that way. But, but then you look at the Bruins game and, I feel like they played a lot better, even though they lost. And they were playing a much better team, and they ran into a really good goaltender.
And a better goaltender. Like Swayman, he's a really good goaltender. He's definitely better than Jake Allen. And that's what is so frustrating is because they had 44 shots. They did get some goals, but the goals they got were hard fought. Like you think about the one Luke Cunningham got, it was right in front of the goal, right in front of the net. He had to fight to get it. The one that Tanner Jeannot got was a redirect. Who was the other goal? What was the other one?
Talking about the Canadiens game?
Yeah, in the Canadiens game. Yeah. So Tolvanen's goal. It was Tolvanen, the first goal. That was a redirect. Yeah. Like no straight shots into the net. These guys can shoot. Yeah, it was a very choppy game. Yeah, absolutely.
But, you take the win, you take the 2 points, and you run with it. We're all well and good with that. But we're starting to think okay, are the Predators just the same team they were last year, where they're going to hover around mediocrity and maybe they'll make the playoffs again? But this is why the Forsberg situation comes up, because you're like, okay, if you hold on to him, is he really going to take this team to the next level? Probably not. So it's better to trade him at this point. And when you see games like the Canadiens game, that's what makes you think this team is not ready to handle the big boys yet. It's just not ready.
No, I agree 100% with that. So I was looking
in my opinion, real quick, Rich.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Before you go ahead real quick, in my opinion, the Preds have one impressive win against the quote-unquote heavyweights. Do you want to guess which win I'm talking about? And it was a while ago.
Which one?
The Minnesota Wild game.
Oh, yep. You're right.
That's the only impressive heavyweight win I'll give them. Okay, no, you know what? Scratch that. They've got 2. I will totally give them the Calgary win as well. I totally forgot they beat Calgary at the very beginning of November. Calgary 3-2. So I'll give them 2 wins against heavyweight quote-unquote teams this year. I'm not going to even count the Anaheim game as an impressive win because I think Anaheim's going to fade. I think that
I think so too.
They're outperforming their expectations, much like the Predators are, because they're another young team, the Ducks. So I'm going to give the Preds 2 high-quality, impressive wins this season so far. The Minnesota Wild win on October 24th, so going way back, and on November 2nd against the Calgary Flames, they won 3-2. Other than that, I mean, I guess you could say St. Louis was kind of an impressive win, but I don't trust St. Louis. You can say that the Dallas win was impressive. Dallas, okay, I rethink that because Dallas is suddenly playing really good. They've won like 6 in a row, but this is all going back like 3 weeks ago. What have the Preds done lately to give you any type of confidence? Not a lot.
Not much. Not at all. Yeah, it is kind of like it's back to how it was last year. You start when they had the little win streak going, you started to get some confidence and you're like, hey, these guys are looking pretty good. And then they go back to the win one, lose one. And it's like, it's like you said, you can't trust them. So I was looking up some stats. So if you take away the losses against the Montreal loss, the Chicago loss, and the Kraken loss, the 8 other losses, they gave up 33 goals. They only scored 13 in those losses.
Ooh.
That's massive. So they got we all remember the beating they took from Colorado. That was a 5-2 loss. The Golden Knights, that was a 5-2 loss. They just can't do anything against the better teams. They're just outmatched.
Yep.
I mean, they don't have an elite player other than Roman Josi. And I would say, before the season started or like when the stretch was going, I would say that Saros was teetering on eliteness. He was playing really well, but now he's kind of worrying me a little bit, letting in some things he maybe shouldn't. Yosi's it. I mean, that's it.
So
the other guys
what you're saying, so what you're saying, and I'm right. I'm right there with you. Is they are just another average team right now, average NHL team.
I think
they're
so.
Going to get some wins. They're going to get some wins. They're not going to be as bad as Arizona per se, but what they're showing us right now is they're a very mediocre to average at best team. They're going to beat some teams on certain occasions that aren't that good either. But when it comes to playing the cream of the crop, they're probably going to get exposed. And that's kind of where we're at right now, unless something changes. And now we ask ourselves, are we okay with that? As long as that means that the team keeps rebuilding, I am okay with it because my expectations were low to begin with. So I'm not going to get my hopes up and think this team's going to somehow miraculously go deep in the playoffs just because they're in third place right now in the division or wherever it is they're at in early December. I'm not going to make that suddenly make me feel like they're going to be a viable playoff team. I think that we're poised. The best case scenario for this Preds season, in my opinion, is that they make the playoffs for an 8th straight year, which is impressive. But once again, they lose in the first round. And I'll give them high marks for that because this season was billed as a competitive rebuild. So if you make the playoffs in a competitive rebuild season with a lot of young players, I'll take that as a win.
Yep, I would too. I guess, yeah, so my expectations were the same as yours. We talked about it a bunch of times. I was, low, I wouldn't say totally low, about mid expectation, I guess, expectation-wise. But then they started winning, and then I guess I got my hopes up. I guess that's what it was because now I'm a little disappointed, but I need to put my expectations back down where they are.
Right.
Until they can get, I don't know, until some guys can start scoring other than Forsberg and Duchesne and those guys. They need.
It's not even about certain guys scoring. It's about showing up against the legit teams.
Yeah,
that's the measuring stick right now. And right now,
true.
The measuring stick says that the Preds cannot beat the high quality, legit teams in the league. They can't do it. So that's kind of where we're at. We've seen that throughout the month of November. That's what November has taught us for the most part, is that against the legit teams, they can't hang it. Yeah, so Lindsay says here, let's share Lindsay's comment here on YouTube. Yep. She says, I'm not sure if I would give them the game versus the Flames. The Flames really outplayed them, and Saros was the reason they won it. All right, Lindsay, that's a good point.
That is a good point.
And Lindsay is a Flames fan, but I do remember that game now. And that was one of Saros's games where he decided to say, you know what, I'm going to put this team on my back. And we all know UC Saros is capable of doing that.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of when is he going to do that, and can he sustain it through a playoff series is kind of where the Preds ceiling goes.
It's a little scary to think about.
But Lindsay, that is a really good comment there. We appreciate you sharing that. Yeah. I kind of was having a hard time remembering that Flames game. I just remember the Preds 1-2, and I do give them credit for that's an impressive win on their resume. I'll give them that one. Other than that, I give them the Minnesota game, which was early in the season and a while ago, almost a month and a half ago. Other than that, you have to really dig deep to find any type of really super impressive wins. You know, so that's kind of where we see. That's where we see the Preds right now in this early going.
Well, I mean, even against Boston. Like Boston, they're not playing like totally great like they have in the past. They didn't have Brad Marchand. Their coach was even out for he was on COVID or whatever. But they could have, they're probably playing at the same level when the Predators are playing good. They're probably playing the same level, and they just couldn't finish it out. But like when you look at the schedule, like the 4 games on the East Coast, the Rangers, that's going to be a tough game.
Let's get into it, Rich. Let's get into our next segment. Let's get into our next segment. Let's preview the week ahead for the Nashville Predators, and that is the upcoming schedule ahead of this week. The Preds have 3 games this week, so somewhat of a light week. To only have 3 games in 7 days, that's a little bit of a light week. They got 2 days off before they play Detroit tomorrow night on Tuesday, or tonight if you're listening the next day.
Yep.
They play Detroit for the first time this season, and I feel like that's another game similar to the Montreal game where, all right, Preds, let's see if you actually want to be taken seriously if you're just another average team.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the Detroit game, Rich?
They have a very similar record as the Predators. They're 13-9-3. They're actually 4th in their division. They've got 29 points. I mean, that's exactly. It's going to be one where it might be a struggle for them. They struggled against the Canadiens, and the Canadiens have only won 6 games, so that might be a tough game for them. I don't know. I'm not sure. I haven't watched any Detroit games at all, so I'm not really sure.
Well, so the thing about the Red Wings is they've got your rookie phenoms for them right now.
Oh yeah,
they got Lucas Raymond, who is just tearing things up right now as a rookie. He's got 10 goals on the season. He's leading the Red Wings in points with 22 points as a rookie. And they've also got another rookie who's doing great for him. Moritz Seider has 17 points for them.
Yeah,
so they've got 2 rookies who are in the top 4 in points. They've still got Dylan Larkin, who is a outstanding centerman, top-line centerman for them. Lindsay says that is going to be a trap game, isn't it? The Red Wings game.
It could be.
Yes, Lindsay, it feels that way. It totally feels that way. And it's on the road. And the Red Wings are playing with some confidence right now. The Red Wings are actually in 4th place in their division. with a 13-9-3 record, 29 points. So they are playing very well. So
they are.
That's going to be a test.
I will tell you.
All right, so I come out of the Montreal game not being impressed. You know what would impress me? If the Preds go in on Tuesday night, and I'm not saying they have to beat the Red Wings 5-0 or 4-1, but go out there and play a pretty dominant game, take care of business, win the game somewhat comfortably, treat it like a business trip, and get out of there.
Yep.
I will be impressed by that. But if I see all this self-inflicted wounds, making dumb mistakes that lets the Red Wings have an easier time, then it's going to really validate how I already feel about the Preds, which is that they shouldn't be taken seriously when it comes to being any more of a team than they were last season, which is, okay, they're going to lose in the first round again.
Yep, I agree.
They got to start winning. They got to start winning games like this against teams like the Red Wings.
Yes,
coming up.
Absolutely.
And then after that, they have the Islanders, which is a team that is a mess right now.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the trap game.
Zach says on YouTube they need to go into Detroit and dominate on the boards. No lollygagging.
Absolutely, Zach. So when you think back to the Columbus game and how dominant they were, every pass was crisp. Like, they didn't turn the puck over very much, any that I can even think of. Like, bottle that up and do that every night. They were so up for that game. Like, they jumped on them early and then, do that every night. I don't understand why that doesn't happen. But I think this Islanders game is could be a trap game, because as of last week, the Islanders hadn't even won a game in their new building. So I think they're probably going to be looking to try to make an example of the Predators. They are a mess, though. Like you said, they've only won 5 games. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. So it makes me a little nervous too.
The Preds had a 3-game winning streak the second week in November. They beat Dallas, St. Louis, and Arizona in a 4-day stretch. And then since then, they've lost 3-0 to Toronto, 3-6 to Montreal. They did beat Anaheim 3-2. We did the watch-along episode for that one.
Oh, that was fun.
Then they lost 5-2 to Vegas. Just a complete mess. They beat New Jersey, which, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
And then they lose 6-2 to Colorado. They turn around and beat Columbus 6-0. And it's just like, what do you expect out of this team right now? I don't know.
Yeah. Lindsay said they need to be ready to play and not play down to their opponents. Well, that is their MO, Lindsay. Unfortunately, that was last year.
Well, let's talk about the Islanders game for a second. You just said that's a trap game right there. Well, so the Preds have already beaten the Islanders this season.
Yeah.
And at the time, it looked like an impressive win, but the Islanders are a mess right now. And they're even somewhat, there's some rumblings I come across today that maybe some fans want Barry Trotz fired up there, which I think is crazy.
That is insane.
That is insane.
Yeah. Why would you do that?
The Islanders are a mess right now, so you don't know what to expect out of the Islanders either. The Islanders play a very similar style to the Predators. They're very rugged. They don't have a lot of offensive talent, but they are a very sound defensive team. So we'll see if the Preds match up with the Islanders well. And then you get the New Jersey Devils again this Friday. So that's your 3-game road trip this week. And then on Sunday, you play the Rangers to round out the 4-game road trip, I should say. The Rangers are a really good team. The Preds are a hard underdog in that game.
Oh, absolutely they are.
Yeah. So
definitely.
The Preds are getting their Eastern Conference matchups out of the way right now because they've already played Montreal. They've already played Boston. They played Columbus. They've only played one Western Conference team since November 26th.
Oh,
so they've been playing a heavy Eastern Conference schedule lately. But you got to take care of business. You got to win I think they got to win 3 out of 4 in this road trip.
I agree.
I know that's asking a lot. I know that's asking a lot, and that's kind of a lot to say and ask for. But if you want me to take this team seriously, you need to win 3 out of 4 coming up here.
Yep. Yeah.
I'll accept a loss to the Rangers. I'll accept that.
Yeah. They should definitely handle the Islanders and the Devils.
They got to start building some winning streaks here if they're really going to be taken seriously.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just like it just seems like they don't get up for the games, and I don't know why that is, but it's just inconsistency. It's one game, and I keep talking about the Columbus game because it was so awesome, but like exactly how they played is how they should. That should be their benchmark for what they're going to do every night. And it's just they come out and they're flat, turnovers, bad passing, and it's frustrating, very frustrating.
Yep. So we'll see if they can. We'll see if they can start building more consistency this week. I feel like this is a really good week to do that for them. There's some winnable games this week. You don't look at the opponent other than the Rangers game. You really don't look at the opponent and think, okay, I'm scared about this matchup. Like, yes, the Red Wings have some really good players. And the Islanders, you got to think they're playing pissed off and they're going to figure it out eventually maybe.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about.
Come on now. This is your week where the Preds can, you know what? They can show something this week. They can play their game and get 3 out of 4 wins, build some momentum before they get back into the Western Conference part of their schedule.
Yep. Zach said the Islanders are a disappointment so far. I was honestly expecting a deep playoff run for them. Yeah, I was too. Yeah, definitely.
They can still turn it around, though.
They could.
All right.
The Blues did it.
All right, so this is episode 86 of Catfish on Ice with Chad Benton and Rich Howe. We appreciate you joining us on YouTube. We appreciate you downloading the podcast the next day. Can't thank you enough to all of our listeners for supporting our podcast. Let's get into the next segment. Before we do that, we are presented by DraftKings, and football fans, I'm sure we all love an action-packed, high-scoring NFL game. We've got Monday Night Football going on right now.
Was it snowing there? Looked like it was snowing.
That weather up in Buffalo, well, let's just say it fits perfectly for Buffalo. Yep. So guess what, NFL fans? We have an awesome offer being offered on the DraftKings Sportsbook app for you right now. Right now, you got the Patriots and the Bills playing on Monday Night Football. It's an 11-7 score. Patriots are winning. But in the snow, in the wind, guess what? The latest no-brainer from the DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. You'll be a winner once a single point is scored. New customers who bet just $1 on any team to score can win $100 in free bets. It's that simple. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet $1 on any team to score and win $100 in free bets. If they score, you score with the promo code THPN this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 years or older in New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager is required. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And if you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER, and restrictions do apply. And if the sportsbook is not available in your state, you can still use Daily Fantasy to have a lot of fun as well. So go do that with us right now. All right, we got Kyle Perkins joining us not too far from now. He will be getting in on the action. He will join in on our next segment when he joins, and that is
Perks picks.
Yeah, the Blues Clues Perks picks.
That's it.
So we have some Preds records that are about to fall, and David Leguan, the original Nashville Predator, has owned almost all of these major records for a while now, because David Leguan was Mr. Longevity. He got drafted and played He actually did not play the inaugural season for the Nashville Predators. It took him one season to come up, but he owns all the major franchise records: goals, games played, game-winning goals, assist, points. Owns it all. I'm telling you, those records will not be standing at this time 2 years from now, maybe 1 year from now.
Possibly one.
Those records are on borrowed time, finally.
Yeah, finally. You look at on the Nashville Predators website, and they have like team history, and they've got the career leaders, and like you said, the first 5 things up on the pictures are him, like dominating the career leaderboard.
He was Mr. David Leguan was Mr. Longevity. He played with the team up until the 2013-14 season, and then he, as we alluded to earlier, he was traded before the trade deadline to the Detroit Red Wings. At the time, the Preds got back Calle Jarnkrok and Patrick Eaves. Patrick Eaves never really did anything for the team, but Calle Jarnkrok did.
He sure did.
And it ended up being a really, really great trade because David Leguan did not really stick around that much longer in the NHL. And as hard as it was to trade a beloved player like Leguan at the time, it was a business decision and it made sense.
Yep.
So now you naturally ask yourself, is it a business decision to trade Forsberg? But let's talk about these records. And it really is interesting because I tracked this. I did my math. I put my math hat on. I looked up Forsberg's goal pace right now for this season. Yep. And if he continues on this goal pace, there's a really good chance that he could actually break the Preds franchise record for all-time goals in the Stadium Series game on February 26th against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, that the stars would have to align for that to be perfect. I'm just saying that right now, his goal pace exactly puts him bullseye on that game.
So I'm scanning your article you wrote for Predlines about this. So he's 22 back.
Yeah.
So 22 will get him the record.
To break it. 21 to tie it. And if you go off his current goal pace, that's when he would break it. Now, do we really think he's going to keep up this goal pace? Maybe not. But even then, that's still almost a full month before the trade deadline. So there's even a more likely chance, and this is really going to be ironic, is if he sets the Preds record and then gets traded.
Oh, that'd be horrible.
That's kind of my whole thinking behind this, looking at these records right now, is now, if Forsberg signs a long-term deal, then he's going to build that record up really high, and he's going to hold that record for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But he might barely break it, or he might just come up just short, and Leguan's goal record lives on. I mean, it could happen.
I don't see anybody else.
Rich? What do you think happens, Rich? Do you think Forsberg breaks it before he gets traded? Man,
it's so hard to tell. I want him to, obviously, but man, I'm just so nervous about them right now. It seems like it's not going to happen. I don't know. It's so hard to tell. But I was going to say real quick, I don't see anybody on the team currently who, if Forsberg doesn't do it, who will do it. And if they do,
it would take a really long time.
It would.
Maybe
that's
Phillip
what I'm getting at. Yeah. Oh, maybe. Yeah, that's true.
But that would take a really long time, and that's way too soon to say that right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But other than him, there's
several years. Yeah.
Other than him, there's no one on the current team. So Leguan's record could stand for a long time if Forsberg somehow does not break it before he gets traded.
Yeah.
And that's the only way Forsberg doesn't break it is if he gets traded. He's going to break it this season if he doesn't get traded.
Well, if he's if he's wanting to go somewhere else and we just don't know about it yet, and he keeps playing like he is because he wants to impress whoever he's going to be working for next, he might break it.
Exactly.
He might
That's
break it ahead of time
too.
So,
and let's not overlook Roman Josi here. Roman Josi is actually even more in the driver's seat to set a new record, to break David Leguan's record, and that is assist. Roman Josi is only 14 assists behind Phillip Forsberg.
Oh, that'll go this year. I guarantee
that's the cakewalk.
Yeah.
So Roman Josi will be your new all-time Preds assist leader.
Yep.
Almost certainly at some point this season. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
That is.
And then, so that's great. Forsberg, let's see. There's some other ones here, though, too.
Well, you had Josi for points, all-time points in your article.
Josi. Well, just because of longevity and stability, you expect Josi to be around for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And he is, if you look at the list for a lot of these records, he's going to keep shooting up these lists. And I don't see any way that Josi would not be the all-time points leader. Probably by the end of next season.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So you have in the article, he will pass Marty Erat this season.
Yes.
For second. Yeah. Okay. So and then next season would be the year he could take over all-time points. Gotcha.
Yep.
Yep.
And then awesome. Your all-time shots leader, which I know that's not a big-time record, but still interesting, is Shea Weber. And Josi has a really good chance of breaking that record this season. Yossi's already got 104 shots this season, or he's 104 shots shy of that record, which he should easily amass.
Yeah, I would think so.
With the remainder of this season. So a lot of records are going to fall this season. A lot of franchise records are likely to fall. So that's your prediction, Rich. You seem to think that Forsberg is going to be traded.
One day I do, and one day I don't. It just depends. It just depends on how they play. Like I would, if I was him, and they go on this streak where they're really bad, like they were last season for the first half of the season. If I was him, I would probably want out. I hate to say that, but like he's getting, his age is he like. Is now his prime? Is he in his prime now, or is he like over his prime a little bit? It just depends. And if he wants to, move on and look for greener pastures, I think, it's definitely could be in his future. So, well, look who it is.
How do, fellas?
All right, we got
Perk's picks.
Well. Look who just decided to join the party.
So I went to the wrong meeting.
What's up?
That's why I wrote you and said, where y'all at? Apparently I was going to one from the beginning of November. So,
Kyle, wait. So Kyle, you were literally Will Smith in that meme that everyone likes to share where he's in the room by himself and no one's there?
Yeah, pretty much.
Lindsay says hi, Kyle.
Yeah, I was waving at her.
Oh, awesome.
All right, so Kyle was a month late on his podcast invite tonight.
Yeah, so we have our message.
Okay, we'll forgive you.
Our DMs. You were in the wrong DM.
Yes,
I think is what it was. Gotcha.
Yep.
It's a very understandable mistake, and it's okay. So, Kyle, we were talking about. We want to get you in on this. Just talking about it. You probably were hearing it before you came on. About these records that are going to fall this year, possibly. And, of course, it might come down to a photo finish, depending on what happens with Forsberg and if he gets traded. But do you think Forsberg breaks David Leguan's all-time goal record for the franchise, or do you think he misses out just before he gets traded?
How many more does he need?
He needs 22 to break it.
Ooh.
And I did the math on the goal pace, and if he stays the exact goal pace he's on now, he's in line to break the record in the Stadium Series game. That's if that. I mean, that would take like perfect, stars aligning, and the pace stays exactly the same. I'm just saying I found it interesting that that's exactly the game it puts him at.
And you got to take into account. You got to take into account if he is looking to go somewhere else, he's going to be looked to impress his next team.
Well, he's already done that.
Well, I'm just saying he's going to make it even. He's going to make it even more. Like he's going to do even more. Yeah. So we'll see.
Oh, so how many goals will that put him at the end of the season?
Well, he's got 189 career goals, and the record's at 210 for David Leguan. So he's got how many goals does he have this season? 11, I believe. So, I mean,
I know he's had 10 in his last 10 games.
So, I mean, yeah, he's got 11 goals this season. So if he scored another, put him 22 goals to break the record, I mean, that's only 33 goals. I mean, that's kind of in line with what he's done his entire career. So I think it's possible, but it's very close. It's very close.
But will it happen before the trade deadline, though? That's the question.
Exactly. Well, the trade deadline is March 21st. So, I mean, he's got an extra month ahead after his pace, what he's on now, to break the record. Yeah, I'm saying it could come down to he gets traded right before he breaks it, is what I'm saying. It could happen.
Yep. It's definitely a possibility. He's got 11 right now, so that'd put him at 33 goals, which is one away from the single season record for the Predators.
Which is so sad.
Yeah.
It's so sad that total's so low.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is crazy.
So,
but
I mean, it's doable.
Fun stuff. It is doable. I just hope that he doesn't break the record and get all this glory for breaking the beloved Dave Leguan, the original Nashville Predator record, and then he gets traded. It would be like the ultimate, like salt in the wound almost. It's like, you own our all-time record, and now you're playing for Vegas to help them win a cup. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. But I could see a team like Vegas swooping in and grabbing him or something. I don't know. That's my fear.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe they would – he needs to go to an East Coast team.
Well, I'm telling you, a team that's going to really want him at the trade deadline is going to be one of those teams who feels like they're literally just one goal scorer away from making themselves a cup contender or a cup winner, not a cup contender, a cup winner, because he might be a rental. If you snatch him up, he's a rental, possibly. The classic rental player, because you don't know what he's going to do when he hits free agency. So those are the type of teams that are going to be looking for a Forsberg, shopping for a Forsberg, is we could use a Forsberg and his scoring to put us over the top. So I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. It's going to need to be a team that has a pretty decent amount of money because he's going to want it.
Well,
if he does go somewhere.
Well, they don't have to have money to make the trade necessarily.
Right. It would be if
it's about a rental. They might just want there's teams out there who might be like, hey, we're gonna rent him for this playoff run.
Yep.
We'll toss some prospects or whatever or a depth player to Nashville to get him. We'll see. It's gonna be weird. I'm not liking it. I don't like the uncertainty.
No. It'll be
that's what I don't
sad day. It'll definitely be a sad day if that happens. Look at this. Look at this right here. What she said. Forsberg to Calgary. Do you need Forsberg in Calgary? I don't think you do. I don't think you do.
No.
Lindsay, stop trolling us.
I know, right? That's messed up.
Although there's a lot of teams I would hate seeing Forsberg play for more than playing for Calgary.
That's true. You're right. Yeah.
All right.
Only if we get Mangiapane in return.
You heard it here first. Lindsay says that Forsberg's going to the Calgary Flames. All right. Let's get on with Perk's picks here. Me and Rich have literally no idea what he has in store for us. Sometimes he gives us a little bit of a hint in our private group chat, but not today. I literally have no idea what he has in store for us. So I'm
excited.
I'm really, really interested to see what he has in store for us.
Well, you're going to be really excited about the first one, and that's Guess Who's Back. Everybody's favorite, Matt Luck. No, Ben Harper.
Yeah. He's your BFF, Kyle. Don't even lie.
I even broke out the new cannon today.
I saw it.
Y'all hang out. I think Kyle and Ben Harper hang out on their days off and they're best friends.
You love him so much. What was it? The Harper Yeater
10K Ultra. So apparently that gun is actually something they used to shoot projectiles into space with. So
there you go.
It's technically yeeting Ben Harper into space. So
that's definitely better than the other one.
Yeah.
But Kyle, we at least don't feel like – I don't think Ben Harper is going to start on Tuesday against the Red Wings. He's purely a depth call-up, right?
They're going on this road trip, and they are afraid, the way that between COVID and the way this team plays, it's high likelihood you're going to lose somebody, especially among the bottom two pair defensemen. So you look at how physical Benning and Boro have been lately. I kind of worry about it almost. I love how they're playing, but then again, it could go south in a hurry.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So you've got Ben Harper. You've got Ben Harper there in case you have to insert him in for a banged up Borowiecki or Benning or I mean any of them really, the way they're playing. So that's really what it comes down to.
I'd say if the odds are if one of them's going to get hurt, it's going to be Borowiecki, because did you see his last fight? He was just swinging. He didn't even have nothing to hold on to. He was
throwing both hands, and then he just picked the guy up and body slammed him.
Yeah, so he'd be the one I would think that might get hurt, but who knows? And
it was funny almost because he was protecting Trennan. Trennan had just trained a guy, and here comes Boro to take Trennan's fight, and Trennan's like, I wanted to do that.
Yeah, definitely.
So, that's what I think that was. And Luff has played well in Milwaukee, so I think they're just like, hey, you've done well, so go up and see the big show for a bit.
Yep, I don't have a problem with that.
No, I really don't see either of them getting very much ice time. Only if somebody gets hurt.
The starting lineup, especially your forwards, they seem, barring any injuries, your four forward lines seem pretty set in stone right now.
Yeah,
that is actually the next pick, and that is consistency. Okay. They have had the same lineup for probably the last 3 games in a row now.
No way.
They haven't moved anybody really since Forsberg's came back. And it's working out well. It's really surprising. And I really wasn't expecting this, because I was looking at these statistics for one of my other picks, and you wonder why Hines is leaving some of these lines alone like he is. And sitting here at 1, 2, 3, around 10th in expected goals for is the line of Cousins, Novak, and Tomasino. In the league,
who saw
10th. And the reason they're there is because John Hines has saw that those 3 guys have a little bit of chemistry together. They might not be putting the numbers up yet, but they're doing the work, and therefore their expected goals are they're going to start hitting eventually. Yep. Tommy Novak has had so many goals that were 2
including the last game.
Yes, and he is doing everything he can as a young player, and I couldn't be more impressed with him. For a guy that I knew nothing about, I never see a play happen. Yeah.
Talk about a prospect that was flying under the radar.
Yeah.
Coming into the season.
Like there's not been very many plays, or actually any plays where I was sitting there watching the game and said, Tommy Novak messed that up. This was caused by him doing something wrong. I've yet to say that. It's like, he could have maybe been back a little bit quicker or something on the forecheck or something like that, or maybe he seemed a little timid from time to time. But that's gone away now. He seems comfortable, and he's not making a lot of mistakes. He's playing solid hockey, and he's doing what a third, fourth line guy should be doing. I don't know if his ceiling's higher than that or not, but he's functional where he's at, and he looks good with Cousins and Tomasino.
Yeah. Cousins
I really love
a lot more shots too. That's good.
I really do love the consistency with the lines. This is something that the Preds have been dealing with for like 3 seasons now. At least, going back to Laviolette. There was no consistency with the lines. It was volatile. It was no chemistry whatsoever a lot of times. And I don't want to jump ahead too far because it might be another one of your picks, but the Duchesne, Granlund, Forsberg line, dare I say, is one of the best lines you can ask for from the Predators in a long time.
Well, we'll go ahead and go to that one because that's one of my other picks. So we'll go ahead and go there.
Great minds think alike, Kyle.
They are 7th in the league in expected goals for. And that's behind lines like Mangiapane, Backlund, and Coleman, Gensel, Crosby, and Rodriguez, Tkachuk, Lindholm, Gaudreau, Rupe Hintz, Pavelski, and Robertson. So that's the company these guys are in. They're one of the most elite top lines in the NHL. You could put them out against about anybody.
And you've got Mikael Granlund just serving up goals on a silver platter. And that's nothing to take away from Phillip Forsberg. But Forsberg's been completely honest about it. Been like, look, this guy Granny over here is like setting myself up for it, and I'm not having to do that much work.
Yep.
Which I love that from a superstar. That's one thing about Forsberg is he is so team first, class all the way. I love that he's throwing, like after that Columbus game, he threw all the credit back to Granlund, and I love that. Yeah. That was so awesome.
Yeah.
My friend Sean C. Smith from over at Renegades of Puck and on the forecheck, he brought it up on one of the last episodes of Renegades about somebody had brought it up to him. Why would Forsberg want to go to any other team that doesn't have Mikael Granlund?
I love
that. That's a very good point.
That's one thing that we can hold on to, that maybe he will stay here because of that connection he has built with Granlund.
Yep.
I mean, you look at the numbers he's putting up since they've put that line together, and it's
a really impressive.
Good point. Yeah. Chris Mason called him Granny Apples, which that was kind of funny.
Yeah, Phil was calling it the Granimal.
He did. I saw him calling him the Granimal.
That's an awesome nickname for Granlund, the Granimal. He is, I mean, he's just, the way his ice vision, man. I mean, he's just like, he knows exactly where to put the puck.
Yeah, and if you look at that, the game-winning goal in OT against Montreal, that pass was, I mean, it was between a defender and the goaltender, and the goaltender easily could have poked that away, but he just threaded the needle, man, and got it right to Forsberg, right where he needed
through
it.
The crease. You couldn't ask for any. Nope. That's not something we're used to seeing watching Nashville. That's something.
No.
That's something you see with like a Matthews and a Nylander or
absolutely
Crosby and a Gensel or a McDavid and Draisaitl,
and especially the angle he hit it from. He was kind of a little bit lower, and he shot it right in there. It was gorgeous goal.
So
that
Granlund's leading the team in points right now with 26 points. So, yeah.
Expected goals per 60, that line is actually third in the NHL.
Oh, wow.
Behind Gensel, Crosby, and Rodriguez, and Bunting, Matthews, and William Nylander.
So that's a pretty good company to be trailing.
That's crazy.
That's, as they used to say, that's walking in tall cotton right there.
That line right there might just be enough, if they can all stay healthy, to carry the Predators back into the playoffs for the 8th straight season.
Well, you have a legitimate top line that the other team knows they have to put their best defenders out. They have to put their checking line out. They can't let up against that line. But the thing is, you've got, and this is going off into left field. Dan Hinote, the assistant coach, I've talked about him before. When he got hired, he brought it up that one of his things was he wanted this team to work for a full 60 minutes. All 4 lines are doing that now. They are pushing, they are forcing their way down and doing all those type of things. Forsberg said the other night after the game that we're just going to keep coming at them until they're too tired to play against us. And that's Dan Hinote's style. That's what he said he was going to make this team do when he came in as a coach. So I think he deserves a lot of credit for that as well. Just that attitude of, we're just going to run you in the ground until you get too tired and we're going to take advantage of you.
Yep.
So
that's the Predator way. That we're getting back to the Predator way, right? Which is outworking the other team. But they have a little flash now too with this with the granny line. They have a little bit of both. They're still the hardest working team out there that's going to hit you in the mouth, but now they got a legitimate top line that the other team has to worry about.
Yeah. So I have to do at least one prospect thing a week. And,
hell yeah. We love it.
LaRue and his World Junior Championship snub.
I saw that today.
Yeah, I don't think he's real pleased.
I love the tweet. I love the tweet he put out. Did he say? Do you remember the tweet, Kyle? Exactly. I saw it.
Kyle's probably got it.
I can get it real quick.
He said something along the lines of, "Oh, that's okay. I'm going to make them pay, or I'm going to make them regret it." It was something along those lines.
He said, "I think I deserve to be on the list. I'll do everything in my power to make them regret this decision."
That's what it was.
It's something that's beyond my control. I can't really say much more about it.
Yep.
And he just goes out and scores the day that they tell him, "Hey, you can't be on the list." Although I do think it's more of a PR worry for them than it is anything else.
Too. That sounds.
They're worried he's going to go and just mow somebody down, and it's going to be bad.
I'm not seeing this that tweet on his main profile though. Did he?
No, he did. He doesn't tweet.
Okay.
This is from an interview.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. I couldn't remember if I saw a tweet or if it was somewhere else.
I can't remember where I saw it, but yeah, I saw it and I was like, "Yeah, you tell him."
These younger prospects, they're smart for not tweeting. Like that's the last thing they need to be worried about is being all over Twitter and focused on that. So
absolutely.
This is the whole interview is in French, so yeah, it is by a gentleman named Guillaume Lepage. So I'm gonna have to.
Your French accent's very. Your French accent is a little work.
Guy Lepage? Is it Guy
Lepage?
I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have to try to find a Google Translate on this and maybe read it because it's apparently the article's about him and Scott Nickel, the Preds director of development. So that could be interesting.
Yeah.
Got to do my homework. So
Kyle, well, real quick before we get to your next bit, Kyle, you made the prediction that you think that, well, maybe not a prediction, but you did say that you would not be surprised if LaRue makes a surfacing onto the Preds lineup at some point in the season.
Wouldn't surprise me at all. When you look at what a player needs to develop into to make an NHL roster, LaRue's skill set for what he's going to do in the NHL is pretty much there. Take, for example, Tomasino. Tomasino, he needed a couple more years to put on a little bit more size, to get a little more speed. LaRue's a brick.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's there to hit people, tick people off,
and chew bubble gum.
Yeah, and he's all out of bubble gum. So he's there to kick butt and take names. So that's not really a skill you can hone. It's one of those things you're kind of born with, most likely.
Yeah, that's funny.
So it wouldn't surprise me in the least to see him.
And Eeli Tolvanen, you said Tomasino, but Eeli Tolvanen to that same degree, another prospect who had to really round out his game, even though he had so much buzz coming around him. Right when he was drafted, everyone was saying, what a steal that the Preds have made by taking Eeli Tolvanen so late in the first round. And even a player with his skill set, he was still a very raw player. Whereas, like you said, Kyle, LaRue has a lot of those intangibles that you can't teach that are just already in him.
Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all to see him come up for a game or two. Like I said, there 10 games he can play before it burns a year off of his entry level. So, if my prediction is if the Preds are out, like for sure they're not going to make the playoffs, yeah, bring him up and let him play a few games. So what's the worst that can happen?
Fans would love that too.
Fans would love it. It would put at least the ones who know a little bit about the situations, that would make me more apt to go see a game when the season's out of hand already.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I went to a preseason game this year just to watch prospects play. So,
right.
Well, I think this fan base is actually really starting to pay attention to the prospects this year.
Yeah.
I would hope so. We've got some exciting guys coming through the pipeline.
You noticed when during the prospect, I noticed anyway, during the prospect showcase, I had never seen so much interest from casual fans in the prospect showcase until this past year of it. So I think a lot of your casual fans are fully on board with the fact that this team is pushing reset a little bit. What complicates it is that they're still competitive this year. That makes it complicated. But I think fans, for the most part, are fully on board with the fact that we've got some really awesome talent coming out of this prospect pool. And so Zachary LaRue is obviously one of those players.
Oh,
all right, let's get to your next pick, Kyle.
Next one, and that is Luke Cunnin with the Gordie Howe hat trick on his birthday.
Rich's Uncle Gordo. That's right.
I love to see it. You know, Cunnin's another one of those guys that's putting in the effort. He's playing on this line with Johansson and Tolvanen. They've looked good. They just can't score for some reason or another. They just can't get it in the net. And then Cunnin ends up with an assist, a goal, and a little bit of fisticuffs on his old birthday. So
a little scrap.
Congratulations, Luke, on that. I really wouldn't have picked him to be the one to get a Gordie this year. I thought Tanner Jeannot was going to get one about 8 times now.
Cunnin likes to hover in front of the net, though, so that makes other teams mad a lot. Like they hate that, so
Cunnin is a hell of a scrapper too.
He sure is.
Oh,
He
yeah.
is very underrated.
Yeah.
If Nashville has one thing they're best in the league at this year, I think it's throwing hands.
Oh, for sure.
I think we've had one lost fight, and that was the Olivier fight.
Oh yeah.
Or
well,
no,
some would say Matthias Ekholm, but
that wasn't a
That
fight.
wasn't a fair fight.
He did get his butt whooped, but it wasn't a fight.
Yeah.
No, yeah, they. I mean, this team is just loaded with guys who can throw hands and just. I mean, that's their MO. That's literally their identity, and that's what's so awesome to see. Again, we'll go back to this Granlund line. They have a little bit of both now working for them. They're not just a scrappy team now. Now they actually do have a line that can burn you and score some goals. So now teams have to worry about both. We're like, oh, we're going up against this Nashville team full of pests and full of scrappers. They're going to try to get under our skin and all this. But they also have this deadly line that is potent in producing goals. So that is something that if this keeps like building, the Preds might have something here. If they can have the best of both worlds a little bit, that can go a long way.
Yeah. So on to our next one, and this one made me so very excited the other night, and I don't care that it was a deflection. Eeli Tolvanen finally got a freaking goal.
Finally.
And I may or may not have
season.
got up and danced around my living room when this happened because I love Tolvanen. I was so happy for this kid.
Yeah.
And you could tell he was like, it was a deflection. It didn't really count. And everybody else was just so happy for him. But maybe that'll be
the open the floodgates. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, get the monkey off his back. And
I was tweeting for the Catfish account, and at first I thought it was Ekholm. So I had the tweet already. I was like, oh my gosh, Ekholm scored a goal finally. And then I saw that it was Tolvanen, and I just replaced Ekholm's name with Tolvanen and sent it out. I was like, yeah, so happy for him, man. Like hopefully that'll get that monkey off his back.
Well, I mean, Tolvanen scored in the season opener against Seattle. Yeah. And then just not only could he not score a goal, but he couldn't get really any assist or anything, really. I mean, he was he was putting some assists up on the board here and there, but yeah, I mean, he's a scorer. He is a goal scorer. And for him to go that long and have a 1% shooting percentage through that time is just, you got to think eventually it's going to tilt back in his favor. And so he gets one against Montreal, and hopefully this can be a sign of his luck turning around. You want to talk about an added bonus for this Preds team.
Oh, yeah.
That need some extra offense. They've got Forsberg, who's putting up goals. You still got Duchesne. You've got Yossi out there, and you've got Granlund dishing it out. But other than that, I mean, this team still has to dig really deep to find their goal scorers. So if Tolvanen can somehow find himself turning his luck around, then, I mean, that's going to be a big, big bonus for the Preds.
You know who the top 3 shot takers are on the team right now?
I got to think Yossi's in there.
Nope.
No.
Wait, hold on. I had it set to just forwards.
It's definitely – well, Duchesne's definitely in there.
Yes. Hold on.
I would say Duchesne and Yossi, but I might be wrong on Yossi. But I know for sure it's got to be Duchesne's in there, though.
Well, this puts one of the ones I was talking about to the 4th. Yossi, 160. Duchesne, 108. Ekholm, 99. Tolvanen, 98.
Tolvanen's fourth on the team in shots.
Yep.
And he's only got 2 goals.
Yes.
Wait a minute. Colm is 3rd?
Yes. I thought the same thing. I was not ready to see that number.
What universe are we living in?
Yeah.
Well, you know, he always likes to do that blue line shot from the blue line.
He loves that. He loves to just throw. He loves
Bread
to
and
just throw
butter.
that puck into the traffic and hope it pinballs off somebody.
It worked. It worked against the Canadiens.
The whole team, but the whole team does that though. That's like that's their style, man. It drives me crazy sometimes.
Me too,
though, man.
Me too.
It really drives me crazy.
Fabro is 5th.
Yeah, I mean, come on now.
So
that's crazy.
That's wild. I would have never.
No, I wouldn't have guessed that either.
Yeah, that really surprised me to see Ekholm up there, which he's my next pick. You know, he's had 3 primary assists this year. 2 of them were in that game.
He had a really good game.
That's the best game Ekholm has played this year, bar none.
You got the
do it more, Ekholm. I like you. Please don't make me have to defend myself to Matt all the time.
Well, last season in the 56 game regular season, he arguably had one of his best seasons of his career. So it's not like he's that far. It's not like he's that far removed from having a really good year. It's just he's not. But there's no sugarcoating it. He has not been good this year.
No, not what we're used to.
To be a second pairing defenseman and what you expect him to be, he just got a 4-year contract. You expect way more out of Ekholm. And I'm sure that if you ask Ekholm point blank, he would say the same thing. I can guarantee you he's not happy with his own play right now. So, I do think he's a really great professional and that he'll get it figured out.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully so. He's playing mostly okay defensively, but it's been a shaky year. And you're kind of stuck with him. I mean, I guess you could trade him, but I mean, I don't think that's something you can really do. So, I mean, you're kind of stuck with even if he plays horribly, you're kind of stuck with him right now. I mean, I'm sorry. You just gave him a 4-year contract. I mean, I don't see anybody beating down the door to sign him or to take down his contract at the trade deadline. So
last year,
you could have.
They definitely, if that would have been the time to do it, but
the Preds really need to keep their fingers crossed that he just figures it out on his own and that this is just kind of a fluke, these first 20 games or whatever.
I think he'll get out of it. It's about like the Tolvanen thing. It's got to break eventually.
Yeah.
Especially with him shooting the puck that much.
That's insane.
Yeah, I would never thought that. That's a trivia question right there. And if someone gets that one right, then they are indeed a diehard Preds fan that studies it every day because most people would not ever think in a million years that Ekholm was top 3 on the team in shots.
No.
That's a problem. That's a problem. I'm sorry. He should not be top 3. That my mind is blown right now, Kyle.
Yeah, that hurt my brain. So we'll go on to the very last one, the best of the best, and that is Phillip Forsberg with a F-O-U-R. Forsberg. So now we can officially put to bed that Rocco Grimaldi is better than Phil.
Lower Eric Nystrom. Don't be leaving out my guy Eric Nystrom now, Kyle. Eric Nystrom had 4 goals in a game for the Preds.
When was this though?
This is like 2015 maybe 16. I don't know.
Really?
I'll look it up real quick. It was somewhere around there.
But anyway, we'll go ahead and talk about Phil a little bit.
He's like, anyway.
Anywho.
Well, while you're looking, we'll talk. Don't bullcrap a bullcrapper.
Right.
Phil in the last 10 games
2014, Kyle. 2014, he scored 4 in a loss to the Flames. January 2014.
Rocco's was in a loss too. What do you know?
That's painful.
So Forsberg joins elite company, Rocco Grimaldi and Eric Nystrom.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Kyle. I'm sorry.
In the last 10 games played, Phil has 10 goals. It's pretty good pace. You were talking about he's expecting to be up there to potentially break Leguan's scoring record by the end of the season. But will he be the one to lead the Preds in goals this year?
It comes down to him and Duchesne.
Him and Duchesne.
Yeah.
Duchesne's 2 ahead of him.
Yep.
Duchesne's kind of slowed down. Duchesne, as we all expected, is cooled off slightly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still those two both.
All right. If we're comparing, if Forsberg finishes the season in a Preds uniform, he will easily win. He will easily be the goal leader for the Preds this season. I'm calling my shot. I'm not just saying I'm not even making a basic prediction like he'll barely. No, he will easily be the goal leader past Duchesne.
I can see that. He's got. I think Phil has a little bit better shot.
Yeah, and we're talking about setting records here. If that ends up happening, then Phil will break his good buddy Victor Arvidsson's single season record for goals, which is 34. So we were talking in past episodes that Duchesne had a good chance to break it. There's even a decent chance that both Duchesne and Forsberg both break Arvidsson's record this season.
There you go.
It could happen.
Duchesne's 10th.
Entirely possible.
He's 10th in all the NHL right now. That's good.
But I think
it's so cool to actually see Preds players in the top of scoring races.
It is, yeah. And Forsberg's 19th. I mean, that's
and then what's the
20 NHL?
Now that we're talking about records, I mean, you talk about Mikael Granlund pawing up all these assists. I don't even know off the top of my head what the assist record is for a season. I want to say that Korea has the record. It's either Korea or no, it's Ryan Johansson that has the record. I'm sorry, and he said it not that long ago.
Mikael Granlund in all of the NHL is 6th in assists. He's up. He's at names like Victor Hedman, Alex Ovechkin, Connor McDavid.
Yeah. I'm sorry, it is Paul Korea. I was right off. So Korea has the single season assist record with 54. Ryan Johansson had 50 in 2018-19. So Roman Josi only came up 5 assists short of tying the record in 2019-20. So I mean, Granlund's already almost halfway there.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. If the pace he's going, he might have it beat by Christmas.
That's kind of what made me think about this whole segment going into tonight's episode is there are so many records that single season and career records that could be broken this season. Yeah. So it's kind of fun to watch. It is fun to watch to see records broken.
Yep, definitely.
So in the NHL right now, among forwards, goals per 60. And this will make our friend Lindsay very happy. Number 1, Andrew Mangiapane with 2.57 goals per 60 minutes. But second, 2.43, Phillip Forsberg.
Wow. Phillip Forsberg is second in goals per 60. Wow.
Yep. Followed by Leon Draisaitl, Chris Kreider, Ovi, Troy Terry.
Wow. So Phillip Forsberg is ahead of players like Ovechkin and Draisaitl.
Yep.
I mean, mind blown.
And guys, that is what – go ahead.
I was going to say Kyle's dropping some mind-blowing stats, both in a good way and a negative way tonight. Positive in the sense that of Forsberg, but negative in the way that I still can't wrap my head around Ekholm being third on the team in shots, but I won't bring that up again. But
all those things we're talking about, that is what makes this season so frustrating. These guys are all doing so good, and we're still talking about the rebuild a little bit, and is Forsberg even going to be there?
No, I don't want to hear the rebuild term thrown out one more time because it's not a rebuild.
Well, if you go to Preds Facebook, it's still Fire Hines.
Yeah,
I know. I saw that.
Well, Kyle, let's actually use that to get into our NHL Quick Hitter segment, which you're gonna join us here for. It's our weekly NHL Quick Hitters. We cover a couple main topics going on around the NHL, and the first one is this coaching firing frenzy that we're seeing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Flyers just fired their head coach. The Canucks just made a coaching change and quickly brought in Bruce Boudreau, who was doing work for ESPN, I want to say, either ESPN or NHL Network, one of those.
And one of the greatest gifs out there, him saying "darn," that's the best. That is my favorite.
Is that what
I
he
love
said?
That so much. No, that's not what he really said. But if you look at
he dropped a certain word that starts with an F that we're not going to share because we have
the gift.
We have a younger audience. Yeah. We have a younger audience that likes to watch the podcast, and so we're not going to share that certain word. But yeah, that still was very comical.
Classic.
Classic, yeah. But did you see that, Kyle?
Yeah.
And then did you also see the canine drug sniffing dog that decided to drop a big old dump on the Flyers logo?
Yeah.
Oh, I died.
The officer had his dog, and he's like, no. And the dog's like, hey, man.
Right on the logo.
I gotta go.
That is a perfect illustration of the last 2 seasons for the Philadelphia Flyers.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, that was great.
Loved it.
The Flyers thing, if you remember a couple months ago when Leonard started throwing everybody under the bus that's ever done anything wrong, Van Gogh was one of the ones that he called out for being abusive of his players. So,
yeah. And then, of course, the Blackhawks made a coaching change a little while ago. I think we're going to see some more coaching changes as the season goes. I mean, it's just – and then – so I guess we can frame it this way, since we are a Predators podcast. Is John Hines just cushy right now? Is he just chilling? Is he – no matter what happens this season, is he good? He's Gucci? He has nothing to worry about?
Gucci. Look at you. Yeah, I think he's good this year, unless they go on some kind of weird, like, lose 20 in a row or something.
Well, come on now. That's not how I asked it, though. I mean, like,
right now?
Good. No, I mean, like,
good. Oh, good.
No matter
is he
what,
good?
Is he good?
I think he's safe. Honestly, at the moment, with the way the team has progressed, there's been, 2 games this year that they've legitimately been out of. Like, you can turn this one off. There's not any hope.
Yeah, the Vegas game.
The Vegas game and
the Colorado game.
Yep.
Colorado game. Come on.
That's a good.
The Vegas and Colorado.
I mean, going into the third period, they had a chance, but that game was still pretty. But those games are going to happen through an 82-game season. You can't say a coach should be fired just because you lose to a really good team.
And you that's a good point, because the way we've seen them play well when they execute their game plan, and that's really not his fault ultimately if the players don't execute the game plan like you're supposed to. So, like, if they don't do what he says, then
whether fans like Hines' system or not, here's why I think Hines is safe. You might think he's not the right coach for the Preds' long-term future. That's totally fair game. But he is safe because he has clearly brought this locker room together. They play for each other. They have each other's backs. I don't sense any type of volatility or toxicity from what I see. And they play for each other. And you can see it in the interviews. You can see it in the way they play the game. I even saw it when I went to a couple Preds practices before the season started. A couple of the open practices at the Ford Ice Center. I mean, he's a very much a player's coach, the way he handles himself. And I don't see him going anywhere anytime soon. So for better or worse, I know fans don't like him because he's very boring. He's not flashy at all.
He wasn't boring the other night. I can't remember what game it was, but the ref did something. He was all up in that guy's business, man. You remember that? What game
he
was
didn't
that?
get fined.
Yeah, what was that? Which one was that? Was it the it wasn't the Boston game.
Was it Columbus?
I can't remember. Yeah, it was Columbus. He was like every other word was the F-bomb. He was like, yeah, I'm surprised he didn't get something.
Because they fined Brindamore like $25,000 for yelling at the refs the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's another thing, guys. Here's another thing. He's in the last year of his contract with the Preds.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be fun whenever that
makes it really interesting. What does he have to accomplish to get the full confidence from David Poile to re-sign him?
From David Poile, have a good showing with the roster he's given. I won't even say he's got to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't think he gets a long-term contract though either. I mean,
no. I think like a 2-year deal, something like that. I don't think they're going to be signing him to no 6-8 year.
But if you think about it though, this is his first real season, so he deserves at least 2 more years.
Rich, I'm going to give you a lot of credit for this. You've been saying this for a long time. Give the guy a chance. He's never had a full normal offseason. He came in January of 2020. The pause happens 2 months later, and the team was actually playing very well up until the pause. And then they were 6 points out of third place that season before the pause happened. And then, of course, they lose in the Stanley Cup qualifiers, and it was ugly, and it was almost like a waste of time that they even showed up and lost to the Coyotes. And then last season, the 56-game regular season, I mean, you can't count that as a regular season for anybody. And the team still made the playoffs and took the Carolina Hurricanes to 6 games. So you can not like the guy all you want, but he's still milking a lot out of this team that lacks a lot of elite talent.
Yeah, and he orchestrated a very massive turnaround for that team because they were bad. They were so bad at the first half of the season.
Are you talking about when he took over?
No, last year. Like he finally got them all bought in and on the right track, and they were so bad.
Well, even when he took over for Laviolette, that team was a mess. I mean, that team was literally a rudderless ship, just like floating around with no direction. And I mean, when he came on, everyone was like, okay, I don't even know what you're going to do with this team. Yeah. And then somehow he figured out a way to string together some wins and pull the locker room together. So there's something to be said about the fact that he, if anything, he knows how to bring a locker room together.
Yep.
And he deserves a lot of credit for that.
You've got people like Duchesne talking about that over the summer, Hines was calling him every day or so, just trying to work out how they could be better for each other.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. I'm not saying he's going to win the Coach of the Year trophy anytime soon, but as far as developing younger players and developing relationships with his players, I'm pretty impressed.
I think so. Judging by how this season ends, we'll really have a good we'll really be able to talk about long-term future. I think where we sit right now in the season, we can't really say does Hines deserve a long-term deal or anything we don't know that. We have to let this season play out first, I feel like, before we can say anything about that. Let's get into our last NHL Quick Hitter of the Catfish on Ice podcast, episode 86 with Rich Howe, Kyle Perkins, and Chad Minton. And that is one of Kyle's favorite players. And this player is the first to really come out and make a really bold decision. That's Robin Lehner, who has opted out of the Olympics. Robin Lehner is one of the most genuine, outspoken, honest players you'll see out there. And I respect the hell out of him for making a very, very difficult decision. We'll start with Rich and work our way around to Kyle. Rich, what was your first thoughts when you saw Robin Lehner making this really difficult decision?
I say kudos to him because at his age, this probably ain't going to come around again for him. So that's tough to like give up your opportunity to play for your country in the Olympics, because that's a special honor. But he's right. I mean, what he said is exactly right. He's got to think about his mental health, and like they were saying, some of the what happens if you get COVID while you're over there, and like you have to quarantine for like 3 weeks, and he was like, that would not be good for him. So, put his health in front of and his family in front of everything else, no matter what. But
before we go to Kyle, I just want to share Robin Lehner's tweet. I want to read it. He put this out. Really early in the morning. Actually, he put this out at 1:00 in the morning. He put, great performance tonight from our team. Have to address, I will not go to the Olympics. I'm very disappointed, and it's a tough decision for me as it's once in a lifetime opportunity. Reality is that what has been said about how it's going to be is not ideal for my mental health. Took a long time to make decision with my psychiatrist and family. My well-being have to come first. Being locked down and not knowing what happens if you test positive is too much of a risk for me. Sweden will have a great team, and Markstrom is a beast. Hope people understand with a heart. I feel like a lot of players are going to follow his lead, and he's just kind of leading the way. Kyle, what do you think about it?
I think that had to be one of the most terribly hard decisions that he's probably ever had to make.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's very proud of being Swedish, and it's got to be painful to have to say I can't do this, but then again he's doing what's best for him, and I can't fault him for it.
Mm-hmm.
And from everything that I've read, it just looks miserable.
Yeah,
like it's almost going to be like a prison atmosphere for the athletes over there. They're going to be,
I'm sure,
even if they're not on quarantine, they're basically on quarantine the entire time. Mm-hmm. And for somebody who has the issues that Robin has,
mm-hmm.
I can't blame him at all for not wanting to be put through that and risk going through a relapse of other issues that are caused by his mental health. And I really think if any player decides not to go for that type of reason, I can't fault them.
No.
I mean, I had to do quarantine myself with just me and my fiance and our little boy, and it was awful. And it was just 10 days. I couldn't imagine 3 weeks
in a foreign country.
In a foreign country that's
a little
bit sketchy anyways.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot to ask, even from an athlete who wants to represent their country and mm-hmm. fulfill their dream of playing the Olympics. It's like, that is a lot to ask. And I mean, us three will never understand that because we'll never be in that type of situation. But for these athletes, I mean, you want to talk about just an incredibly difficult decision.
Yeah.
I mean, well, and we've already kind of touched on it, and it's still very much ongoing. The Olympics in the NHL is still very much in jeopardy as it is. I mean,
mm-hmm.
All it's going to take is more and more players opting out. And if cases keep rising, you've got this new variant, all these different things keep happening, then the NHL still has time before for them to opt out. Like there's a deadline. Can't remember exactly when that date is, but they can opt out. And I mean, none of us are Gary Bettman fans, but we do know that Gary Bettman will very likely, if he doesn't think it's right for the league, he'll he's going to pull the plug on this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As much as I'd like to see it in the Olympics, as much as I'd like to see it, I was so excited about it. But like you said, if something happens, they're definitely going to take care of their season in the NHL before they'll let these guys go to the Olympics for 2 weeks.
I don't know. This is a little bit off topic, but have y'all seen the Chinese Olympic hockey team
No.
and the issues around that? They're being threatened about from the IIHF about how many of the players are actually not Chinese.
Oh, that's funny.
I think. Oh,
How do you where do they
What?
get them from? Like,
they're mostly Canadian.
really? Huh.
Yes.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
So they had to put a team together really quick, I guess.
The majority of its players, 19
Yeah.
in fact, are Canadian and have been recruited by China.
That's funny.
What?
Yes.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
it says they might not even meet
All
the
right.
standards to compete. Huh, that's crazy. India's got a hockey team. That's crazy.
So
all right, weird things.
So we're wrapping up. We're wrapping up episode 86 here. Before we do that, we want to tell everyone we appreciate you joining the episode. We will see you later this week on Thursday to react to some Preds games. Of course, I think we have a live game to react to on Thursday. We will actually go live for a portion of that game.
Yep.
Against the Islanders. So stay tuned for that. Also, let's do a quick score update here. See if anything's really standing out before we wrap up this episode. We've got the Dallas Stars about to win their 7th straight game.
What?
Watch out for those Dallas Stars. They're beating the Coyotes 4-1. That game's pretty much over with now. There's like a minute left. The Canucks and the Kings are tied 0-0. You got the Penguins beating the Kraken 3-0. The Senators beat the Devils 3-2. Look at the Avalanche. Avalanche piling up goals again. They score 7 to beat the Flyers 7-5, and the Capitals beat the Anaheim Ducks.
That's tough to look at.
How about, hey, I know he's a goon, but how about Tom Wilson? This dude's having a really good year. He scores his 9th goal of the season in that game.
That's strong for him.
Yeah, I mean and then Ovechkin actually didn't have to score a goal tonight.
He got 2 assists.
So he did get 2 assists. So that's your NHL scoreboard update there. Preds remain. They're in 5th place now, but it's a very back and forth. So you've got the 6th place Stars with 6 points. They're about to be at 28 points. So the Preds are actually going to be in 6th place at the end of tonight's action. So,
Oh, well, look at Colorado shooting up there to 2nd.
You've got literally –
who would have thunk
after
that?
After the Stars move up to 28 points, you're going to have 4 teams at 28 points and the Preds at 27 points.
Man, it's so close.
So there you have it, right? There you have it with the Central Division. That's the Central Division in a nutshell.
That's crazy.
All right, everyone. It's been fun. Thanks, Kyle Perkins, as always, for joining us. We always appreciate you. You always bring awesomeness to the podcast, so we can't thank you enough. We will see everyone on Thursday for the Preds and Islanders. We can't wait for that. Until then, everyone have a really awesome week. Go Preds, and we will see you on Thursday.
Always go Preds.